Welcome back to the Unlock Your Potential podcast. I'm Matt Faupel, founder of FaupelX and creator of CRE Pro. This is where commercial real estate leadership meets execution. If you're a property manager, vendor, or executive looking to scale smarter, operate with clarity, and lead under pressure, you're in the right place. Today's episode is a breakdown of my recent appearance on the Buildings podcast, a powerful conversation where we tackled one of the most overlooked topics in CRE, emergency management and resilience. This episode isn't just a recap, it's a framework you can apply right now to strengthen your emergency protocols, build operational trust, and lead with more confidence when things go sideways. So let's get started. Emergencies don't always show up as headlines. Sometimes it's a power outage, a broken sprinkler head, a diesel spill in your loading dock, or yes, even a wild animal loose in your parking garage. In the Buildings episode, I reframed emergencies as daily operational threats, not rare events or once-in-a-lifetime situations. This is a way to think about it as a day-to-day framework of things that will come up. It's just a matter of time. If you wait until there's a major event to build your plan, it's already too late. Emergency preparedness isn't about fear, it's about clarity, calm, and control in the moments that matter most. Here's the framework I laid out in that Buildings podcast episode. You need to think about emergency response in two layers. The first being immediate emergency protocols, the first 5 minutes when dealing with a situation. Who does what, in what order, with what tools, how do you communicate? The second layer is your business continuity. That's the next 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, or months even. How do you stabilize, recover, and keep the building functioning? Most teams have one or the other planned out, but the best teams, they build both layers of solving an emergency response. When your fire panel goes off or your elevators drop out because of a power outage, these are 5 minutes that will define not only your leadership, but your team's leadership as well. When the dust settles and ownership and tenants are asking how fast were things back online, what is broken, what needs to be repaired, your continuity planning is what defines your reputation. Now, let's go beyond safety for a moment. Emergency preparedness is also a business value. It builds trust with the tenants, it builds credibility with ownership, it builds confidence with your team. As I mentioned on the Buildings podcast, and I'll say it again here, your ability to respond calmly, clearly, competently under pressure is one of your most valuable traits as a property leader. In commercial real estate, when things go wrong, people look at the property manager to manage the situation. And if you've done the preparation, that moment that could have been chaotic is under control. Here's what most emergency plans, where they're falling apart, is that they live in a binder or they're on some file on a drive that no one knows where it's at. They haven't been updated since the last property team was in play. And as we talked about in that episode, your plan is only as good as your latest test of that plan. You need to do tabletop exercises, real-time walkthroughs, role assignments under simulated pressure to understand what are the variables and how things could work or not work with the current plan. And why is that important? Because when the adrenaline hits, people don't remember pages, or they don't have the time to look back into a shared folder to find a document. They remember what they practiced. You need to keep in mind things like your fire watch plan, evacuation routes, emergency vendor call tree, how to start up the generator. These are things that are very important, and unless you rehearse them, you can't be confident that you'll execute them at a high level. Now, during the episode, we took it a couple steps further. I shared how AI tools like CRE Pro are changing how planning and preparation gets done. You can use AI tools like CRE Pro on ChatGPT to do playbook generation for tabletop drills, talk through difficult scenarios, and even run through ideas of worst case scenarios. The new standard in commercial real estate isn't just having a plan, it's having the plan digitalized, on a template and repeatable across any building with your team, regardless of the situation. And from my perspective, I'm hoping to turn emergency readiness into a scalable system that property managers can bring with them to any property with any team under any circumstance. So if you're listening, please write these things down. Here's your challenge. Take a moment on your calendar to set aside some time to audit your first 5-minute protocol. Look at different situations. Who takes the lead? What do you do? What happens? What tools are needed? And is that information anywhere besides in your memory right now? Next, you want to build a continuity layer. How do you restore things after an incident? How do you communicate? How do you keep operations moving the next hours or days after an event? Have your emergency action plan, take a look through that, and look at your responses in that plan. Are some of those scenarios, is the instructions completed once the scenario is resolved, or does it go into continuity planning for days after? From a water loss to a severe storm, those things usually are not wrapped up in a single moment. And lastly, make sure to write down that you need to start testing. You need to do tabletop drills, walkthroughs, talk through scenarios, go through exercises to run these drills, to understand the gaps, what works well, what doesn't work well, what's outdated, what needs to be refreshed. These are critical components that will set you and your team up for success. That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlock Your Potential podcast. If this episode gave you some clarity on emergency preparedness, please do me a favor and share it with someone in commercial real estate. Please check out the buildings episode. There's much more information. I believe that episode's over half an hour long. And also check out the Unlock Your Potential newsletter on LinkedIn, where I have several articles about these topics. The more prepared you can be, the better your team will be able to handle these situations, and the more credible you will be when you have to step up to take charge in these situations. Thank you so much. If you have time, please check out FaupelX.com. Maybe ask CRE Pro some questions on ChatGPT about your emergency procedures or scenarios you could walk your team through. Until next time, keep going.